Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our autumn series of webinars from ASP. My name is Jon Monk. For anyone who hasn't met me before, I'm head of search performance here at ASP, helping to drive more people to your website and also hoping those people convert more into whether it be exhibitors or attendees, etc. So I've got an exciting webinar to run through with you today, and we're very much talking about 365 engagement. So we're going to be talking through lots of ways and means in which we can do that to support existing activities that you have, such as social and email. Just as we go through, please feel free to fire in questions. Katie is helping me out, so please send questions through. I'll be getting those through on Teams, so if you have a burning question during the webinar, please fire that in, and if it's relevant, I can answer that within the webinar itself. Also, the session is being recorded, so this will be available afterwards, as well as the presentation itself, and you'll be able to go back to our website and look at that. And I believe there'll be an email going out just sharing all of that. So please feel free just to pay good attention to the webinar. Don't have to note everything down, as I say, because it will be recorded. Just again, for those who don't know, who haven't met me, who haven't been working with ASP for that long. So my name is Jon Monk. I'm head of search performance. I have been in SEO since 2012, so I have an awful lot of experience across many types of businesses, many industries. Since 2022, I've particularly been focusing in on events and all the enormous opportunities that events have in SEO, which I certainly find quite exciting and sharing with people. In 2023, we launched our optimization services at ASP. And just saying, it's quite a natural combination, because obviously if you're providing a website to an event, the natural next step is to then make sure that that website is performing well in terms of driving people to it, and then people getting converted from that. And I help ASP on two sides. There's firstly making sure that the base level of the platform is according to best practice and is there SEO ready. But a website, unless it's actually optimized, will never drive organic traffic. And then we take it a step further, where we offer particular consultancy services to clients, where we look at how to actually improve the SEO traffic to the website, as well as conversions as well. So just a bit of background over. Today, we're very much talking about 365 engagement to your website. So often when I speak with clients, traditionally there's the run up to the event with XProm and VisProm, in which typically the traffic to a website, to an event's website, will be in that lead up to the event. But many people tell me that what they really want is that kind of 365 engagement, in which you have people signing up all year round, which obviously will build the email database, provides the opportunity to share lots of other information with potential exhibitors and potential clients, potential attendees, ticket purchasers, etc. So it's that 365 engagement, so then to really help take the pressure off that lead up to the event, which is the normal cycle. And this is where things such as search engine optimization comes in, and which I'll be talking a little bit about that today, but also how that can be enhanced by the content that's put on the website, which in turn will provide some of the source material for social posts, for email, etc. And I'll be giving you some nice actionable tips on how to actually do this. And all of this is with a view to providing real sustainable growth, not only for the events, but with your website. So year after year, this organic traffic actually increases year on year, based on some of the things that I'll be sharing with you today. So you will all understand social and email far better than myself. I'm not a social or email marketer, but what people tell me, and certainly what I understand, is that some of the keys with social and email is always having something to say, is having something of value to share with your audience, and especially off season, and when you're kind of 8, 9, 10 months away from the event, understand that this can sometimes be a bit of a challenge to have really great quality content to share with your audience year round. So, and this is what we're going to be chatting with today, is what content can we have from your event, and how can we turn that content into something useful and which you can then share with your audience via social and email. And then in addition to that, how can we greatly enhance organic traffic by using this event content as well? I mean, let's not forget some of the amazing content that you have at your event, from keynotes, from panel discussions, product demos, interviews, all sorts of things. There's some amazing, amazing content which is available at your event. But I fully understand that some of the challenges is then getting that content and having it in a format at a later date, and which is then easy to share, whether it be by social, by email, or publishing on the website. So one of the things I'll be discussing today is how we can potentially get that stuff, get that content, and make it so it's valuable for you moving forward. So the basic concept with this, there's a number of things which help a website perform in terms of SEO, search engine optimization, and a key component of that is content, and not just any content. It has to be high quality, has to be unique, it has to be potentially by respected people that people want to hear from, industry leaders, etc. So if you have that content and you publish it regularly onto your website, it can enormously help the SEO of your website. There's all sorts of things that do go into SEO, but if you have regular, really high value content, which is, let's say, a summary of a talk or a presentation that was given in your conference or in your event, and this stuff is published on a regular basis on your website as an article, this can be fantastic content which can over time start to drive organic traffic. And just think potentially the number of articles that could be published based on everything that you have at your event. Just think potentially how many of these items of content there are. And then just think over time, if you have this year and next year and the following event, over time, just how much the website's going to grow. This provides an incredible foundation in terms of SEO, in terms of driving traffic, and it will be extremely effective. So it's getting this key show content, which is an absolute core to this. And then once you have this, provides an amazing opportunity to then share this via social. So from any great quality article, especially if it's by an industry leader and an eminent person, there's so many opportunities to share this on numerous occasions, sort of snippets from the presentation that was given, link back to the actual article itself, and this can be done year round. So therefore, you've always got something that you can share on social media in relation to these new articles that are being published on the website. And exactly the same principle with email marketing. Again, it's often a challenge to find the content in which to put into emails, especially year round. But just think of some of the amazing content you may have had last year, which you can start to put into newsletters and which you can start to summarize. Maybe you're highlighting certain topics that might be newsworthy at the time, sending that out to your database, sending people back to an article that's been published on your website from a talk that was given at last year's event. It provides an enormous opportunity to provide really high quality and regular emails to your database, really adding loads of value. I think one of the key things with this is also where we're coming from is this concept of really adding value. We're not just talking about marketing to people, we're talking about really engaging your audience with top quality information, and which was shared at your last event by really eminent people, stuff that people really want to read. So they came to the event because they were looking to see some eminent people, learn some amazing stuff, get some great ideas, etc., etc. And what we're looking to do here is to now extend that for the rest of the year. So you've had that once. Now let's be greedy and have it again, and let's put this onto your website and extend it now for the rest of the year with that same audience, as in terms of publishing it and sharing on social, sharing on email. And not only with the same audience, this is where the SEO comes in which it starts to build your audience. So you're now starting to attract new people who want to read high quality information about a certain topic that they might be interested in, who may not even have heard about your event before, but may be interested in going to an event now they've read that bit of information. When I speak to many event marketers, some know a bit about SEO, some not a lot, some actually quite a lot. But so just assuming here, it's kind of a base knowledge in terms of SEO here. I just thought I'd just chat through very briefly some of the advantages and disadvantages, and also highlight the kind of the unique position in which events websites are in terms of performing actually quite well for SEO. And I think this is an area which a lot of people don't actually really realize is the advantages that events have in terms of actually performing quite well for SEO. So just to provide a balanced view on this, there are challenges when it comes to SEO in terms that it's not like a pay-per-click campaign where you press go and you start to get leads in almost instantaneously. With SEO, it does take a little bit of time to get going. If you, for example, you have a brand new event, it's a new website, it could take 6 months, for example, for you to start to see some organic traffic coming through, all depending on how much work and SEO work is done on the website. If you have an existing event and it's been going a long time, you have a lot of authority, it's very well established, potentially that could be a lot quicker. It could be much quicker. But the reality is that there is time from when you implement the work on the site for leads and things to really start moving. There is a level of expertise required because like any form of marketing, it's got its subtleties to it. There's many things that can potentially hold you back. So, for example, if there are some technical problems on the website, if you, for example, haven't actually targeted any keywords, so you don't know what your keywords are, you need to find those out. So, if there's some expertise not there, that can certainly hold you back. So, like I say, like other forms of marketing, there is some expertise required. That's not to say that if you're pointed in the right direction, that marketing teams within events can't actually do a fantastic job. And we certainly do quite a bit of training with marketing teams to help bring people's knowledge and expertise up a level, so therefore, they can really start doing SEO on their own websites. I think one of the biggest things that proves to be a bit of a challenge sometimes with SEO is, unlike PPC, where you can actually very much define what the return on investment is going to be with a campaign based on previous experience, running very, very similar campaigns. With SEO, because there are so many variables in terms of how long the website's been around, how many backlinks you've got, the amount of content you can publish, plus your competitors and probably 100 other things, it's actually quite difficult to predict what the actual return on investment is going to be. Unfortunately, the best we can always do is just rely back on previous results that we've had on sort of similar types of clients. But there are so many variables, it's difficult to say that you're going to get this precise ROI. But on the other hand, what we certainly find is that events have enormous advantages compared with other industries. I've worked in my time in SEO. I've worked in many industries, many types of websites, and for many businesses, SEO actually doesn't work, or is extremely hard, or is very expensive to do. And just to very briefly explain the major items that relate to that. So if you have a website that you need to that needs to work well in search, one of the things it's going to need is links from other websites. So it's going to need links from other authoritative websites which kind of prove its value. Now, with speakers and exhibitors and sponsors coming to your events, people naturally want to talk about that they're going to the event, and therefore very naturally you'll start to build up backlinks without actually having to do that much. I've been amazed looking at all the different events that we've worked with, how many backlinks, what amazing links that you do have from different businesses, from different people, from publications, all sorts of things. And then when speaking with the teams, there's never really been a real campaign to actively go out and find these backlinks. So this gives you an really fantastic starting point, that you have these backlinks already there. So we've got our first tick. Over time, Google has slightly diminished the value of backlinks because people learn how to manipulate them. So one of the other things that that Google now looks for when it's looking to how authoritative is a website and does it deserve to get good organic search rankings and lots of traffic, is it looks at the people that are actually associated with a website. So for a conventional business, you might be relatively limited in terms of kind of authoritative people, eminent people within an industry that you can associate with a website. And the reason why it looks at people is that they're more difficult to fake, in terms of your qualifications, background, experience, time in the industry, previous work experience, etc. That's actually quite difficult to fake. And this is, again, number two, where an event has an enormous advantage is when you have, especially for conferences, where you have such incredible industry leaders and eminent people that come to speak at the event. Sometimes all of the best people in the industry. So you literally have such an incredible resource in terms of telling Google that you are an authority and your website deserves the traffic in which it's getting, because all of the top people within your industry are there and can be associated with your website. So tick number two is there too. Finally, if you're looking at another business, generating content can be quite expensive. So a lot of businesses will do this in the forms of blog posts, writing articles, maybe writing white papers, in which they need to pay people to write the articles, which is an expensive game. It may be slightly more cost effective now with a bit of AI in there, but even so, you then run the risk of poor quality AI generated content, in which you can get penalties from. But this is where, as an event, you have lots of user-generated content. So, for example, speakers will, you've got speaker bios, you have bios for exhibitors, maybe you've got products that are getting uploaded. And also what we're going to be talking about more today is the actual content of conference sessions, interviews, panel discussions, all the really high value content that you have at your event. So as an events website, you have some enormous advantages when it comes to SEO. I'm just sharing here on this screen some of the increases that we have seen on SEO campaigns that we have done with clients. Some very big increases in organic traffic for this year versus a similar period last year. And hands down, it was very rare to see these forms of increases in previous industries and other businesses that I worked with, because they didn't have the advantages that you have. There is an irony here in that despite the fact that there's all the advantages for events websites, many events and many marketing teams aren't aware of this, and still SEO is not a usual thing for many events to do. So therefore, it's not taken advantage of. It's not mentioned on the screen. The other advantage actually is the point that currently not many events actually do SEO. So in addition to all of what I've listed here, if you do SEO, also it takes into account what other people are doing. So if all of your competitors, and if you have a competitive event, are doing lots of stuff, you have to do lots of stuff too. But typically we're finding not many do. So therefore, if you do some SEO on your website, chances are your competitors aren't, and you're going to perform quite well. So SEO can be very, very effective. So I alluded to this on the last slide, but there's so many potential opportunities for incredibly high quality content from an event. I've listed just some examples here, but let's just kind of discuss these a little bit. And the other key point is the people that are giving these that are involved in the content itself. So obviously, if I am talking about genomics, let's say, as a sort of a medical thing, obviously that's going to carry no weight whatsoever because I'm not an expert in this field. But if you have an industry leader, you have an eminent doctor, for example, within the field giving a talk on that subject, then it immediately carries so much more weight. And this is the other thing to bear in mind with all of this stuff. There's what we need to be doing is you have the content and the article which is written about a certain topic which may be derived from a talk or a discussion or a workshop, etc. But then the key point is that then the key person is then attached to that content. So there will be, the speaker or the author that will be on that, and that gives it so much more weight, not only for Google, but also as someone reading it, you're going to pay that much more attention to it because of the person who has written it. So keynote speeches, for example, some of the key reasons why many people will actually may go to an event in the first place to see top speakers and industry leaders and hear what they have to say. So therefore, if you can record that, whether audio or video, transcribe it, turn it into a really high quality article, depending on the topic, obviously, and what's being discussed, potentially you have something there which is highly shareable, highly valuable, and can potentially add, depending on some topics are very time sensitive. So you're certainly therefore by publishing this giving an opportunity for, if it's a blog post, for that to trend and to do really well for a short spike of traffic, or if it's more evergreen content in which maybe it has a lifespan of 1, 2, 3, 4 years, that potentially can now drive traffic to your website for years to come. So keynote speeches, I think, almost goes, that's such an opportunity to add these to the website. Panel discussions are an interesting one as well. We've recently sort of published some panel discussions on a client's website, in which to actually listen to the video was fine. There was some good information in there, but by the very nature of it, it wasn't focused discussion. It was a little bit of back and forth, some ums and ahs, and you could probably have said much more concisely if it was a single talk than what was said in the discussion. And 40 minutes when in reality, would someone listen to that for 40 minutes? And then we summarized it and put it onto an article, and you had a quick 5-minute read of what turned out to be some really high quality information. So there are occasions, I mean, a keynote speech, the video is probably the highest value. Then if you transcribe it and turn it into an article, then that gives you another way of quickly skimming that information, especially if you can't watch the video. But the video is always going to be popular, I suspect. In terms of a panel discussion, sometimes I think the written format is actually a higher value because it's a lot more concise. It really pulls out the information that someone might want to read, and there can be some real fantastic nuggets of information in there. And then obviously there's all sorts of forms of content, and depending on the event and the conference or the show of what's going to be there. So, I'm not sure if you have workshops. There may be Q&A sessions, whether that's with a particular invigilator, or you have questions coming in from an audience. Again, it might be a long rambling session, but by the time you summarize it and put it on an article, you can actually get some real gold out of that. Maybe after a speaker's done their keynote, maybe there's a little bit of an interview afterwards, a bit of a sit down with them, finding out a bit more information. Maybe testimonials. We certainly have worked with plenty of clients where all their attendees will give testimonials, which can give fantastic information for others about the event and what they've learned, what they got out of it. And I think sometimes people are more likely, especially if, depending on how they're looking at your website, flicking through that on their phone and reading that there, it can be a great way of adding some excellent value content onto the website. And so much more. Product demos, product launches, all sorts of things. You'll know better than me all of the different forms of content that you have at your event, and what potentially could be of value to your attendees in the future. Obviously, one of the key obstacles when you're thinking about, I mean, everyone knows the great, amazing content that you get at events, but the key thing is, well, that's, we know that's why people come to the event in the first place. But the key question is always, well, how do I actually get that down and published and put on a website and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera afterwards, because that can be a real stumbling block. So firstly, with clients, when we speak to them, I think one of the first objections is, well, video is very expensive. It's very expensive to record everything, setting up all the gear, the people there, et cetera, and then you have hours and hours worth of video afterwards in which you then have to try and do something with. Do we upload them all up onto YouTube? Do we put them onto the, how do we put them onto the website? It's quite an onerous and expensive task. So I think the first point to raise is that to be able to get content, good value content onto your website afterwards, it doesn't have to be video. It could be audio. And certainly when working with clients, it's far easier and more cost effective to get audio recording, which could be part of the general PA system, than it is to have video. Obviously, there's so the first point to consider is what content do you have? What would you love to be able to record and to be able to publish afterwards? And then what are you actually recording and how do you go about doing that? And in actual fact, is there a way in which the existing PA system and setup that you're going to have there, is there a way to start to capture all of the audio and then maybe supplement that with some of the best video for keynote presentations, etc. So is there a way of cost effectively getting all of that content in the first place? And obviously that has to be planned before the event with a view to then thinking, okay, then what can we do with it after the event? So record everything would be, or as much as you possibly can, would be my suggestion. All of the discussions, interviews, demos, all of the things that we discussed on the previous slide, if you can record them, even if you think, like I said, I think also I've spoken with clients and the objection has been, well, do people really want to listen to that afterwards? Well, maybe they won't want to listen to it afterwards, but maybe within that discussion or that Q&A session or that workshop, maybe there was some real gold in there that actually can be pulled out if we transcribe that and summarize it into an article. And that's certainly what I found, especially when doing some of the panel discussion transcriptions and summarizing, in that you get some real amazing information out of there, which in reality you probably wouldn't have watched or would have listened to the session, but reading it, wow, you've got some really great stuff in there. So I guess the first step is to start thinking, what can be recorded? What information do you have? Where could those nuggets of gold be? And is it worth therefore recording that and then making use of that afterwards? Okay, fantastic. We've done that. We've now recorded it. The next challenge will always be then getting that information out. So organizing it so we know who the speakers are, when it was. So we can now start to then put these into individual articles afterwards. So often that's best done if when you brief in the recording in the first place, that there's at the time there's some way of kind of noting down who the speaker was and what the topic was, etc., etc. Obviously you can do all this afterwards, and but then it would obviously require that manual job of kind of within trying to tease out the information afterwards, which will always take a little bit longer. But so as much as anything, that's a procedural thing. Try and brief in beforehand, just with kind of audio recordings, what the session name was, what it was, and who was speaking. Once we have the audio file or video file, there's lots of tools then available to be able to transcribe it. Obviously, it needs to be high quality, so there's a true, it captures as many of the words, etc., as possible. If it's missing things, then when it's summarized afterwards, that won't be as good. So if you can transcribe something really high quality, that is the next step. We now have a nice long transcription, not particularly useful if I'm honest on its own. I don't know if you've ever read transcriptions that have been put onto websites, but in reality, you're probably not going to read that. And this is where the summary comes in. I say summary, it depends. It's concisely putting down all of the key information that has been discussed in a way that really adds value to the reader in a format in which they'll want to read. So that might be a summary. It might almost be a just a writing up of what was said. But it's in essence, it's taking the transcript and all of the what's been written there and turning it into something highly valuable. And depending on what's been discussed, I can't say how long that needs to be. So if it's a 15-minute short presentation, that's obviously going to be a lot shorter than if it was an hour and a half discussion or an hour and a half keynote. Some of the discussions, in actual fact, like I mentioned before, they may have gone on for an hour, but what's summarized actually is quite short, but it pulls out all of that gold. So actually turning those transcriptions into the summaries, there's a slight art to that, and a bit of AI can be used. A lot of human review and making sure that's all done correctly is also used. So this is one of the key steps, is making sure that from the transcription into the summary, you've turned it into something really valuable that your specific audience, the people who you want to attract to your events in the future, will find valuable and want to read. Once you've done that step, I think writing something for the audience is absolutely critical. But unless you actually optimize this for keywords and for Google, you'll be missing a huge trick, because Google needs to some extent be steered as to what content might be about. And there's places in which you put your chosen keywords. So for example, there is, so when you optimize a web page, just for anyone who doesn't know, very simplistically, there's a few things you need to do. You need to find the keywords in which that bit of content is targeting. So let's say it is the keyword you're targeting is machine learning for just machine learning. I can't think of any more. And so we want to put that into the article, and we need to put it into potentially the URL. So / machine learning, etc. We need to put it into the page title. Page title is a bit of code behind the scenes. If you're using the events platform, it's within the SEO settings. It's called page title. So we need to put the keyword into there. We also need to put the keyword into the page description, which, the meta description, which appears below the page title, and that will come up in bold. These are what you see in Google search results, and it makes you more likely to click on it. So you need to put it in there, possibly into the main heading of the article, also into the main content of the article. So if we do that, you're much more likely to be found in Google for that keyword and actually start to drive traffic. If we don't do this, we have some great content which we can share on email, we can share on social, etc. And if someone's browsing the website, but you're less likely to have new people coming to the site from organic traffic. And so this is a key step to start building those databases to get new people onto the website that might be interested in an event like yours. So this whole step in terms of optimizing, whilst it may be tempting to miss this step, this is one of the key steps, and this is what will help your website grow year on year and start to get organic traffic year round. So finding those keywords and actually putting those keywords in the relevant places on that article is so important. Okay, we now got an article, it's been optimized. Next step is to add internal links. So these are, so let's say in our mythical machine learning article, maybe we have a main section of our event which is specifically about machine learning and all of the different exhibitors and speakers, etc., that you have as this section of the event. It make a lot of sense, and it will certainly help the SEO of your website if you link from that article that you've done through to this main topic or section of your event. So you also want to link through to other relevant articles too. Internal linking from one place to another on a website can really help it perform better in terms of search. And also it's useful for people if you read an article about machine learning, it sort of pricked your interest in terms of actually going to the event. It seems relevant really to kind of link over to the main section of your site, where it covers all the machine learning stuff that's going to be covered at your event. So internal links are important both for search engines and for people who are browsing around the website. I say publish promptly. It does depend, obviously. I mean, if you have 1,000 bits of content, you're not going to have 1,000 bits of content going onto the website straight away. But certainly, if you have time-sensitive bits of information, there's a talk given about something that's going on right now, it certainly makes sense to get that up on the site as soon as possible, publicize it by social and email, and also if it is a timely topic given by an eminent person, that can potentially get picked up by Google News or just within Google search and drive a huge chunk of traffic through to your website. Having said that, if you do have a lot of content at your event, it provides the opportunity to then kind of drip feed this, in the months ahead. And part of the kind of publishing plan would be to kind of determine what you need to publish quickly, and because it's timely, and what maybe could be published later down the line and through the year, to just sort of keep that content keeping going on the site. And remember, when you publish a bit of content on the site, you can then promote it via social, you can promote it via email, and it gives you just loads of things to talk about throughout the whole year. So if you just think about what we've discussed, there's all this hangs around is your website's content. Sorry, in terms of your events content and the amazing stuff that you have. All of the different keynote sessions, discussions, all of the amazing speakers that you have talking. And certainly what I have found when speaking with many events is that unfortunately much of this stuff does not find itself onto the website or into the digital sphere. And every year there's that challenge to be able to then kind of re-engage the audience, get exhibitors signing up, getting speakers signing up, starting to drive registrations and ticket sales, etc. And that amazing content that was there last year, unfortunately, hasn't been taken advantage of and drive that engagement. So by taking this content and thinking how can we actually use it, both after the event and potentially, depending on the amount of it, throughout the whole year, it really does start to provide genuine 365 engagement. And it's not just a buzzword, it genuinely will, because you're publishing the stuff, you're sharing it via social and email, which will drive traffic. And then over time, as these well-optimized articles find their way onto the website, and then a new one, and then a new one, Google's starting to see your website as something which is far more valuable than just an event. Not that an event is not valuable in Google's eyes, but it's now seeing it as a resource for information, and which you become now a real authority for specific topics and for specific subjects. Not only because of what you have published, but also the people associated with what you have published. So this isn't just an article by me about artificial intelligence. This is by someone who potentially is one of the industry leaders about AI. So we're now talking about the kind of quality of articles, etc., that you may be seeing on major publications, newspapers, etc., but instead they'll be on your website. So this stuff is potentially will drive traffic, not only today, not only tomorrow, but next month, 6 months, 12 months ahead. And something so from a talk that maybe was done 2, 3, 4 years ago, the transcription and summary of that talk and published in an article could drive traffic 2, 3, 4 years in the future. And it genuinely could. And this is something which, as a general rule, I just do not see in events websites, and it's such a huge opportunity which is being missed. Whilst I've said in other industries I've worked, it's been sometimes more of a challenge to get the SEO going. a lot of the other industries, people did kind of see the value of publishing some of these articles, and I've certainly have seen how so many of these articles did drive traffic years later, and it's an opportunity for you and your website and the content that you have. And obviously then it greatly enhances, you can greatly enhance traffic by having something to always share and discuss and talk about with your audience when you're sharing on social and via email. Providing sustainable growth. So we've spoken about this before, but one of the things that Google loves is a website which is constantly adding value and gradually getting bigger over time. So what you'll find here is that obviously you have the content from this year, next year, the year after, and all of it is great quality content if done in the way in which I've discussed. So gradually the website's growing and growing and growing, adding more value, and in Google's eyes, and therefore in people's eyes too, it's becoming a real authority in terms of the subjects in which you cover, really pulling in people who maybe have never heard of your event before, who are interested in a particular topic, and then suddenly they find themselves onto your website. Do we have any questions at all? I seem to have covered that in a fairly concise manner. Do we have any questions at all, Katie? If you're thinking of questions, just let me, if this has whetted your appetite in terms of learning more about SEO, we have some other webinars coming up. We're talking about user experience and conversion rate optimization in October. And then we're talking about, so we've kind of alluded to optimization throughout the event cycle with one particular method here in terms of publishing, transcribed and summarized content. There's lots of other ways in which we can do this too. So I'll be talking that in the next webinar. Katie says that questions are coming through. Please fire them through, and then I can then answer your questions. Whilst you're thinking of questions, if publishing, summarizing and publishing this stuff seems a bit hard, we can help you out on that. We have a service now which is which we can help you. It's very much designed to specific requirements, so costs very much vary depending on the number of files you have, length of content, and any specific requirements that you might have. But it's very cost effective. So if you would like to start doing what we've chatted through today, either drop your account manager or me a call and can help you out. Okay, I have a question. Fantastic. Let's put this over. Regarding recording content and then dissecting it into chunks of valuable content, have you come across any useful AI tools that help with this? 100% Chat GPT. This is a great way to really condense this down. If you think about it, many of the tools, AI tools out there, use ChatGPT as basically OpenAI, same company, as the engine for doing that. So using ChatGPT and giving it specific requirements based on kind of your audience. So, let's say it's a discussion, we'd have a specific set of requirements and instructions to make sure that it was condensed down. If it's for example, was a keynote session, we may have another set of requirements which might be talking about links off to resources that the speaker may have spoken about. But in terms of AI tools, I think ChatGPT is absolutely fantastic. Not to be discounted because it's kind of about the best known. It has so much power, but remember that the power of ChatGPT is very much in the instruction in which you give it. So summarize this would be a very poor instruction. If you're thinking about the very, very specific needs and requirements of your attendees and what they would find useful, and give that instruction instead to ChatGPT, then the output's going to be so much better. But yeah, summarize this, I wouldn't recommend. Do we have any more questions? Fantastic. Well, looks like we have quite concisely gone through this. I've saved you all 15 minutes because it was going to be an hour. So hopefully that was really great value to you, and it's given you some ideas as to what you can do with some of the absolutely incredible content that you have at your events and conferences and your shows, because there is so much there. And even if you don't use us for doing anything this, would really love to hear from you in terms of what you're doing, how you're thinking of doing it, and ideas you have, because at the moment this is kind of the start to the events industry. No one's really doing it, and it's such an opportunity missed. So I look forward to hearing all of your exciting ideas and stories, etc., and what you're doing in relation to this and how it's going to drive your website forward. So thanks very much for your time. I look forward to seeing you on one of the next webinars, and we'll follow up with the recording of the session and all of the different slides.